Here's an overview I want you to pay attention to. So when we talk about Form 8938, this is how things looks like. So basically, we're talking about a statement of specified foreign financial assets, right? So on the form, you put the year that everything applies. So here we put 2023. This is a hypothetical case, by the way. So I put my first name, last name here, Sweaty Kiwi, and you put your social security number. And so basically, this you can also put your EIN, or your employer identification number, not a problem, because the type of filer here, it can be a specified individual, it can be a partnership, a corporation, or a trust. So if you're a partnership, a corporation, or a trust, when it comes to your TIN number, your taxpayer identification number, it wouldn't be your social, it will be your EIN. And so basically here, line 4 does not apply to our situation. And so line 4 is kind of interesting if you actually check the box 3A in the case, in like if you check box 3B or box 3C, then you have to put the name, the appropriate name here, okay? So long story short, when we go to part 1, so here you have to clarify your holdings outside the United States. So the number of deposit accounts reported in part 5. So we have 3 deposit accounts. So deposit accounts can be savings. It can also be CDs. It can be money market accounts. And the maximum value of all deposit accounts, $25,000 in my hypothetical case here. And the number of custodial accounts reported in part 5. I mean, we'll talk about part 5 later on, but here we have 5 accounts. And the maximum value of all custodial accounts, $50,000. And so the IRS is asking you a question on line 9, so you have to see whether or not this applies to you. In our case here, no, we put no. And so part 2 actually relates to other foreign assets. And so basically it's asking you here the number of foreign assets. So this can be it can be anything. It can be anything. It can be a brokerage account. It can be anything. It doesn't have to be a checking account. So in my case, in our hypothetical case here, we put 2. And the maximum value of all assets reported in part 6, $10,000. Okay, and so if the question on line 12 applies to you, you put yes. In our case, we put no. By the way, boss, welcome back to the show. It's really a pleasure to have you here. Make yourself comfortable. You are going to enjoy today's conversation. So I want to show you now part 3 here. So basically part 3 actually relates to tax items attributable to specific foreign financial assets. And this is where you want to be as granular as possible here. And you can see on the screen, we're going to leave this on the screen for a long time, for quite a while, so you have a clear idea what I'm talking about. So basically the thing is that for every specific tax item, you have to specify the place where you actually reported the item. So the interest, for instance, we have $7,500. So we reported it on Form 1040 line 2B. And also if there is another, so this is for the form, and the schedule here, we have a part 1 Schedule B, Form 1040. And dividends, $2,500, we have a Form 1040 line 3B, and part 1 Schedule B, Form 1040. Royalties, we have $5,000, part 1 Schedule E, Form 1040. There's no schedule here. And other income, you have $10,000, Form 1040 line 8, Schedule 1, Form 1040. And gains and losses, you have actually $3,500 in Form 1040 line 7, Schedule D, Form 1040. And deduction here, you can see again, it's very granular here, but you have to be granular because the IRS wants to be able to trace that data from one form to the other, from one schedule to the other. So deductions, $1,000, Form 1040 line 12, Schedule A, and credits, $2,000, Form 1040 line 32. And so the part 4 here, accepted specified foreign financial assets here. So number of forms 3520, 1, 8621, 1, Form 3528, 1, all the way. So now I want to show you real quick here so you have a clear idea what I'm talking about. So Form 1040, this is how it looks like for this year. So you have a clear idea where things go on that form. I want to show you also, I want to show you the second Form 1040 so you have a clear idea. I also want to show you here Schedule E, so supplemental income and loss. I'm just showing you like everything I told you in the table before, how all those schedules look like. So Schedule E, this is how it looks like. We have Schedule B. So Schedule B, interest and ordinary dividends. And I'm showing you here also Schedule 1, Form 1040. So this relates to additional income and adjustments of income. And also I'm showing you here Schedule D, capital gains and losses. And I'm showing you Schedule A, Form 1040, itemized deductions. By the way, boss, I want to quickly remind you of today's topic. We are having a conversation about Form 8938. Now, I want to quickly talk to you about Part 5, right? So this actually provides some kind of granular information, granularity, if you will, so detailed information for each foreign deposit and custodial accounts included in Part 1 summary. So basically here, I'm just providing more information to the IRS so they have a clear idea what I'm talking about. So here I have 20, the type of accounts, the account number. Okay, this is a deposit account. And 22, I check everything that applies here. And 23, the maximum value of account during the tax year, 10 grand. And so if there is a current exchange, a current currency exchange scenario here, we put yes. And so you put on line 25, actually, so we have euros. So the conversion rate and how I determine that sort of conversion extent, the foreign exchange rate. And so the name of financial institution, you put that, and you put the account number, everything. So in our case, in our hypothetical case here, we chose Barclays. And Part 6 here, Part 6, you have more information. So this is detailed information for each other foreign assets. And so here we have a trust account. You put the account number. It's pretty self-explanatory, by the way. And so on line 31, you check if assets jointly owned with the spouse. So it's one of those things where if you have a joint account, then you have to specify that, because especially if you don't file a joint return with your spouse, then he or she has to report that data also. And so 34, 33 is pretty straightforward. 32 is straightforward. 33, it is the same thing. 34, actually, you put the same conversion rate here. So here we have a Canadian dollar. So we have the conversion exchange rate. And 35, you put the bank, the address, everything. And so pretty straightforward, so to speak. And one thing I want to say here is that overall, it's one of those things where you have to put all kinds of information, because if the IRS were to decide to trace that money where you're holding foreign accounts, they should be able to use the address you give them to find your money anyway. Let me talk to you about the approach you need to follow here. So when we talk about Form 8938, you need to understand this form is officially called your Statement of Specified Foreign Financial Assets. This is one of the forms that expats use to tell the IRS about financial assets they hold abroad, right? So when living and working abroad, it's really common for Americans to acquire different types of foreign financial assets. So having a foreign pension plan or shares of a foreign company, for example, well, as a U.S. taxpayer, you are required to report those foreign assets in your yearly taxes, and filing Form 8938 is really one way to do it. So basically, the biggest things you should know about Form 8938 are like, not every expat needs to fill it out. It really depends on the type of asset and the types of assets you have and how much they are valued as. And there is a hefty fine if you're supposed to file one and you don't. And there is a difference between Form 8938 and the FBAR FinCEN Form 114. We actually covered Form 114 on another show. So who needs to really file it? Well, to get into the nitty-gritty of it, if you are a U.S. taxpayer who lives outside of the U.S. and holds a total combined value of foreign assets worth more than $300,000 at any time during the year, or $200,000 on the last day of the year, you need to report it on Form 8938. If you are filing a joint return, the thresholds are $600,000 at any time during the year, or $400,000 on the last day of the year. And if you live in the United States and have qualifying assets, including any bank investments and retirement accounts maintained outside of the US. Pay attention to when the tax year starts and stops because it can be different. Okay, of course, in the US, it is the 1 to it's actually January 1st to December 31st, but that's not the case everywhere, everywhere. So, it's one of those things where you have to see what really happens to you. Now, if you forget to file it, if you're supposed to file Form 8938 and you don't, you may be slapped with a fine of $10,000 and a penalty of up to $50,000 for continued failure after IRS notification. Okay. On top of that, the IRS says that underpayments of tax attributable to non-disclosed foreign financial assets will be subject to an additional substantial underpayment penalty of 40%. So the rules are pretty strict here. So do not do it. Okay. When it comes to taxes, it's better to be safe than sorry anyway. By the way, boss, I want to quickly remind you of today's topic. We are having a conversation about Form 8938. Now, let me quickly talk to you about the segregation that you need to have between the 8938 and the FBAR FinCEN 14. So basically, when we talk about the 8938, basically the U.S., who really needs to file it? You have U.S. individuals, citizens, residents, and certain non-residents, and certain U.S. corporations, trusts, and partnerships who have an interest in foreign financial assets as specified by the IRS and meet the reporting threshold. And so FBAR really relates to reports on foreign bank accounts and financial accounts. So U.S. persons, which include U.S. citizens, resident aliens, trust, estates, and domestic entities that have an interest in foreign financial accounts and meet the reporting threshold. So those are the one who needs to file it. So where do you really file it? Well, you file Form 8938 with the IRS, and you file your FBAR FinCEN Form 114 with FinCEN, the U.S. Treasury Department's Financial Crimes and Enforcement Network. And so does the U.S. include the U.S. territories? No for 8938. Yes for FBAR. And so the reporting thresholds change all the time depending upon your situation. And so it's one of those things where you have to see what really works for you. And so what do you really report when it comes to that? Well, for 8938, you are required to report the maximum value of specified foreign financial assets, including foreign financial accounts, as well as certain other foreign non-account investment assets. And for FBAR, you report the maximum value in foreign financial accounts maintained by a financial institution physically located in a foreign country. This is important. Now, when is it due? Well, the form is attached to your annual return and due by the expat tax filing deadline, including any applicable extensions. And for FBAR, it is received by April 15th, and you have a 6-month automatic extension to October 15th, depending on your situation. Now, there are some severe penalties for failure to file those two cases, 8938 and FBAR, and you do not want to go there because you can have fines as much as $100,000. So when we talk about the Form 8938, what really gets reported on that form? Well, foreign real estate, yes. Do you need to? The IRS says no, but if it's foreign real estate held through a foreign entity owned by the taxpayer, it gets tricky, right? The foreign entity itself is a specified foreign financial asset, and its maximum value includes the value of the real estate. So if you have financial accounts held at a foreign financial institution, you have to report it, yes. And foreign financial accounts for which you have signature authority, no, unless you have an interest in the account, as described a little earlier. Now, for financial accounts held at a foreign branch of a U.S. bank, no, you don't have to report that. Financial accounts held at a U.S. branch of a foreign bank, no. And what about foreign stock held in a foreign brokerage account? Well, it really depends here. So you need to report the account. However, the stock within the account does not need to be reported separately. And a foreign stock held outside a foreign brokerage account, yes. Foreign partnership interest, yes. Foreign mutual funds, yes. And domestic mutual funds that invest in foreign stock, no. It really depends on the situation. But again, here it's on a case-by-case basis. You have to see what really works for you. And for domestic mutual funds that invest in foreign stock, well, yes, in some cases. but no, let's say no as a general rule. And foreign accounts, non-accounts investments held by foreign or domestic grantor trust, where you are the grantor. Well, it really depends, but we will say yes for both. Foreign life insurance, foreign issued life insurance or annuity with cash value, yes. Foreign hedge and private equity funds, yes. And foreign currency held directly, no. What I want to say here is that this list is not exhaustive, but if you have more questions, if you have specific questions about this, just let us know in the questions in the comment section. One of our team members will get back to you and really sort of explain a little further. It's important to really understand that for you to actually see for you to see what cases apply to your specific situation, you have to give more information, more background, and most importantly, the country in which you are reporting from. Because if the country has a tax treaty with the United States, things can be a little easier. If it doesn't, then it become a little tricky. One thing I want to say here is that when we talk about Form 8938, it's important to really understand that the bottom line is that you want to actually use the software to do things a lot easily, okay? And the bottom line here, if you are trying to track things, let's say manually, it becomes a little complicated. And so if you want to report foreign assets, you want to determine your filing requirements. And remember that you can report to the foreign bank and financial accounts, the FBAR or 8938. So when we talk about if you have foreign financial accounts with an aggregate value of exceeding $10,000 at any time during the calendar year, you must file FinCEN Form 114. And so then you file Form 8938. As I told you, there are differences between those two forms, but you gotta file both of them. And you gotta report foreign income. Any income generated from foreign assets must also be reported on your U.S. tax return. This includes interest, dividends, rental income, and capital gains. You also need to consider additional forms. So depending on your specific circumstances, you may need to file other forms. For example, if you have ownership in a foreign corporation, you may need to file Form 5471. If you have a foreign trust interest, Form 3520 or Form 3520A may be required. It really depends. Bottom line here is that you need to maintain accurate records. It's crucial to maintain actually thorough records of your foreign assets, income, and transactions to support your reporting in case of an audit or inquiry, okay? And so you do not want to have any penalties at all, because the consequences are just crazy, okay? It's one of those things where you have to just be as proactive as possible. But the bottom line is that it's just better to use the tax software. You can use Jackson Hewitt, you can use TurboTax, you can use Tax Slayer, Tax Act, you can use efile.com, you can use all kinds of regular tax preparation software to file your Form 8938. Now, for FBAR, you may need to actually have, just need to make sure that the tax software you are using has Form 114 incorporated, because not all forms actually have that. Thank you so much for your attention. I really appreciate it. In today's conversation, I was just talking to you about, let me do a recap here. I was talking to you about Form 8938. So I gave you the overview, the approach, and now the recap. Thank you so much. God bless you. I'll see you next time. Until then, remember, stay marvelous.